Anyway, when I got back from Southeast Asia, I went back to where all of y'all was still there. As a matter of fact, 5 days before I left Thailand, I was never stationed in Vietnam. We flew all our missions out of Thailand at Pak Ly Air Base. When I left, you were born. I think you were 5 days old when I got home from that tour. And the whole thing is, living in a military family, always going to be that way. You're going to move around at different places, children born. It's a military family. And Marie, of course, was the glue that held everything together. I'm over here doing this. She's taking care of the house and the kids and paying the bills and doing all this stuff. And then I'd come through and she'd get pregnant and have another child and I'd leave again. It's standard military operation. And in Florida, I was there and we were in a training situation, but we're in the hurricane lane, as you know. So every time a hurricane would come up, the first thing that they would do is evacuate all the airplanes out and leave the wife and children there to put up with the hurricane, and hopefully they'd survive. You're off at a club in Texas, drinking it here and having fun, eating at the club, and mom and the kids back going through the hurricane.
I remember being under a crib during a hurricane in Tampa.
Left me with 4 kids and in a bedroom in Tampa fighting out the storm, but we survived and they survived. They came back after they had a good time on their
You said,
TV.
sitting at the bar saying, "Here's to the hurricane and all our families. I hope they're doing well back there." I joke about it. We were all really worried about our families and our property and our homes and things like that. That's just the way it was, because the airplanes have got to be protected. That is a lot of investment. That all you got to do is put a pilot in it and fly it the hell way away from that storm, because there's no way in hell to put them in shelter. There's too many of them, and you no shelter that big. But you still have to worry about your family and the neighborhood you live in and the town you live in. If it's
He
in the
would
standard.
leave the family often though, because he would be gone for 3 months or go to Turkey for 3 months, captured the Pueblo. He was gone for 6 months. He had to come back to Korea, so he was gone a year. So kids were used to kind of taking care of themselves and doing what they had to do.
And
We made it.
It cost me a lot of baubles over the years. I brought a lot of junk
It
jewelry
did not.
back. Rings and necklaces and bracelets and shit. Stuff
No.
stuff that she didn't want, nobody else wanted. But we'd all buy it, You'd go to the hobby shop, and I bought a piece of onyx, or not
Jade,
onyx,
I think it was. Jade.
jade, and I sat for hours in that thing, shaping that thing, burning, breaking it down. I made a bracelet, a ring, and earrings and stuff. And here's this guy that flies airplanes for a living. Look like a little guy that does counterfeiting, sitting in it with his glasses on and reading over making jewelry. But anyway, just moving to Europe and to Southeast Asia and then back to Korea and then to the Philippines. It was just great. It was great to be able to carry my children to those places. And
The kids adjusted well to all the places we lived, so it wasn't that hard.
most of the schools, overseas anyway, are DOD schools, Department of Defense. So. But wherever we went, they went to the local school, and
Yeah,
back then, everybody taught stuff, you know, math, English, civics, history. They don't teach that anymore. I mean, we just fell out of the sky and became whatever the hell they call it now in education. It's certainly not learning, not reading and writing and arithmetic. It's all this crap that they now have invented to teach.
well, there were Catholic schools in most of the cities we lived in, so We put the kids in Catholic schools when it was available because we are Catholic. All the kids adjusted so well. They enjoyed the life. They were proud of their dad, and I hate to say it, his rank, as he got up in rank, they felt it. And it's not like he became a general or anything like that, but he did rise up in the ranks. And he was a squadron commander, and everyone looked up to him. Kids looked up to him. They respected it.
I only had one child that ever got Chris. He's the only member of my family that got completely exiled from a foreign nation.
I can't believe you're laughing talking about it. He almost killed him at the time. He had to leave the Philippines and never to return. He got exiled from the country. You can
Yeah.
talk about it.
Because of that jerk base commander. He thought it was cute and clever to exile him because he supposedly stole a sandwich.
Well, first of all, Chris is like 6'7", right? He's
Yeah.
a big, hungry boy. He kept his own food in his bedroom. If you ate out of his cereal box, he would pummel you. He was always hungry. But he got in some trouble, like we all did.
Well,
He had to do
wrong,
detention.
wrong crowd, which is very easy to do when
In
you're
the Philippines, that's all there was.
nothing else to do. You couldn't get a job because if you hire anybody, it's got to be a Filipino.
You can't work on base.
To do
you can't work in
anything.
the Philippines, you can only hire Filipinos. So we were in high school living on a base on an island. There's nothing to do. Frankly, smoke dope. I mean, it was all there was
Smoke
about it.
dope, drink beer,
Drink beer.
and get into trouble.
There's no drinking age. If you could reach the counter with your peso, you could have a beer. So that's all we did. But Chris had got in trouble while on detention after school. He lifted a sandwich from the golf cart or something. I don't know. And so the guy took great offense to it and decided that Director of Operations Colonel Cushenberry's son needs to be kicked off the base, where you can't live off base. So Chris had to leave junior year or senior year and come back to the States and live with my aunt to finish high school. It was crazy.
But this is Mr. Burt Moore, and I hope to hell he gets to see this. If I had to do it over again, I'd kick his curly-headed ass all the way back to the States.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
It did screw up Chris because I thought it was going to get a baseball scholarship. He was good at all. We were all good at sports.
She can throw a softball good as any boy you ever saw.
Who, me?
Yeah.
That kid.
I'd sent out here with a couple of my older grandboys, and she burned them down.
They need to catch with their gloves, not their hands.
Go like this.
Y'all call me the Tasmanian devil. I wasn't my fault. Don't brush my hair.
That was her mom's name for her. You look like a Tasmanian devil.
I don't know if she did it on purpose, but I think my third grade picture, my hair looks like I've been wrestling. And I'm like, did the lady taking the photo not think, let's brush it out? I realized after that photo, I need to take care of my own hair.
I didn't ever want to go to the Philippines. But the thing about it, here's what happened. In a nutshell, Seymour Johnson, and I'd made colonel and gone to the War College and went back to Seymour as the assistant chief of maintenance. My boss was the guy I'd flown with in the 9th Squadron in St. Dollar, Andy Anderson. Here we are again. You know, he was older than I was, and out Raymond, we were both colonels. He was the chief of maintenance. I was the assistant. D.O.
Okay.
I was down in Myrtle Beach on that accident board,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
and we did a really good job on that. Found my guy that worked for me. I was the president, and the guys were drinking in the dirt. They found out why that A-10 crashed. Without a doubt why it crashed, and they did a TC, a modification, fleet-wide of all the A-10, and fixed it, kept from losing anymore. And it was just a good thing to have on your record to do that. And while I was there, I got promoted to DO from assistant chief of maintenance to DO because the DO moved up to vice wing commander. And I had a good year there and then doing that. And from there, Colonel's group got a hold of me and asked me where I wanted to go. I said, I want my wing. I want a wing. Wing commander is a very promotable to general job. It's the most responsibility of any job in the Air Force. It's my turn, I'm ready to be a wing commander. I said, you can't. I said, why? He said, you had never had a headquarters assignment. I said, I had the Air Force Academy. They said, doesn't count. I said, why is this not a known fact? He said, well, it sort of is. And this is an old good friend of mine who is now in charge of colonel's assignments. The guy telling me that. And he's the one that sent me to Clark Air Force Base. And went from there, and then it was a good tour. We enjoyed it, but at that point I knew I wasn't going anywhere. I mean, it just killing time. Now I'd still do your job because you never know who's looking and what can be coming down the road. So you don't slack off and let it ride just because you're not happy with it anymore. So anyway, I went from there and then came to Georgia. After they told me that I was never going to get a wing when I left Seymour Johnson, when I left the Philippines, it was going to be my last assignment. Wherever it went, so I wanted to do something that we wanted to do. And we knew Merrick Pound, who was the ROTC commander here. I got a hold of him or somebody and said, how do I apply for that? How do we get it? I had all the stuff they wanted. And I mean, that was a highly sought after job, this one here. Had a lot of people trying to get that job. So I was lucky enough to get it. So we got the job, and I knew that was close to home, back where it all started. Our families are here. It was just a right decision to make at that point in our career, because that was the end of it. I wasn't going to make general officer, which I had visions of doing years ago. But anyway, that was basically why we came here to.
President Davison wanted you too.
Huh?
President Davison wanted you here.
Yeah, President Davison, the university president, he knew me enough to want me to be here to run his ROTC program. Part of the deal with ROTC is if the school wants you, that's kind of helps them real easy to make their mind up. So Fred Davison was a friend, and I liked him. I liked his style of leadership. I liked what he did for the University of Georgia and everything. And we kind of eye to eye on some of that stuff. So he said, come on.
You get your 30 years, you did 1 year ROTC?
No, I was here for 3 years.
Oh, geez.
3 years. This is where I retired from there at the end of my third year. They offered me General Hearn, the guy who was the commander, who thought so highly of our detachment, number 2 in the nation, 3 years in a row. And number 1 was somebody different all the time. We were right at the top.
Until they asked him to run the athletic Butt Smear building.
Yeah, I went to work for Vince Dooley in the athletic department, which was a very good job for me. I enjoyed it because I got to get back into my other first love, which is sports and football. I think at first I thought Vince had created a job to give me a job, but the Butts Mill building, it turned out it was a huge thing, and it was just coming online. They were still under construction. He said he wanted me to be the archivist and whatever that is. He wanted me to run the memorabilia and the archives and all that stuff for Mr. Gatchell when he retired, and of course, Roy did it for years out of the goodness of his heart. And then we're going to have some exhibits in the Butts Mill building, so he wanted to take that over and be a curator and also a building manager, because the Butts Mill was just starting out. That turned into be a heck of a job, because all the athletic department offices are all over the Coliseum and all the floors, and this is going to be a brand new location for everything.
The fact that Coach Butt's daughter and we were the same age, same era, she wanted you to do that job too.
Yeah.
Nancy
Butts, which was Coach Butts' youngest, and there was a lot of history there and everything. And she wanted it, but that just a sidelight events as far as enough people thought that it would work. But it took a good year and a half to put it together so it would work. And working for Vince was a great pleasure. If you do him right, he's your man. I guess you could say military life is not for everybody, but if your family goes along with it, it's a damn good place to live and grow up. Because look at the places they got to go and see and do. You just being along for the ride, you know what I mean?
I remember we grew up moving every 12 months or something, 2 years. We never ever used seatbelts. The windows were always down, and we never stopped for lunch.
They weren't even in the cars, I don't think.
We didn't have air conditioning.
I mean, until we left here to go to California.
Well, we had that big brown station wagon
Ford,
had
so-
air, but it wouldn't reach all the way to the back where the kids were.
Oh, to the very back where the small ones were.
All four of them would be on the back seat, and
Yeah.
somebody would do something ugly, pinch somebody and make them cry.
Jerry.
Jerry would cry, and I'd stop it, you know, this, that, and the other. And as soon as I got aggravated enough, y'all would all be over against the door in the back seat. Out of reach, I couldn't reach you. The seats were always this high, you know. I couldn't reach them that far, so they'd all hobbled in the corner on the back.
They learned to get far enough away.
I remember you give him a yardstick so he could reach us better.
No, it was a wooden spoon. A yardstick would break. A wooden spoon worked real well.
It doesn't carry enough clout.